my name is Kade Crockford. I'm the director of the Technology for Liberty Project at the ACLU of Massachusetts. This week, the drug lab scandal is in the news in a big way, but there are a couple things that you probably won't hear or read in the press coverage of what's going on this week. The first thing is that a lot of the media attention, in fact, most of the media attention on this crisis, has focused on the conduct of the one chemist, Annie Dookhan, at the center of the scandal. But the reality is that Annie Dookhan's misconduct could not have gone on for so long, 8 years, implicating over 20,000 people's criminal cases, had the system not effectively been designed to facilitate convictions and ill-equipped to address both justice and due process on the one hand, as well as addressing wrongful convictions that the system produces on the other. So while you read and watch the news this week about what's going on with the SJC having ordered the district attorneys in Massachusetts to dismiss most of the Annie Dookhan cases, remember a couple things. One is that had the ACLU, the Committee for Public Counsel Services, the Public Defender's Office in the state, and some pro bono corporate attorneys not sued the district attorneys of the state of Massachusetts, we never would have had this result. The DAs wanted to preserve these tainted convictions. And that says a whole lot about the system here in Massachusetts. That the people's attorney, the lawyers elected by people in Massachusetts to represent them before courts in our state, would have rather preserved tainted convictions based on tainted evidence than work expeditiously to bring justice to those people who are wrongfully convicted. So first, while you're watching the news and reading the news this week, you may see DAs act like this is their idea to dismiss most of these tainted cases. That is simply false. This would not have happened had the ACLU and these other attorneys not filed suit and gotten the SJC to essentially force the DA's hand. The second issue is that this crisis speaks to the heart of what's problematic about the war on drugs, which is that the system is less interested in not only the details of specific cases, but also the general justice. Because what we learned through the Dookhan crisis is that over 60% of these cases that the DAs thought were so important to preserve were simple drug possession. And over 90% were tried in district court, which means they were low-level offenses. Higher, more serious trafficking offenses are charged in superior court. So the vast majority of these cases were really low-level drug crimes. And despite that, the DAs acted like it was a public safety necessity to preserve these convictions, despite the fact that the people who were convicted on this tainted evidence, again, the vast majority of them for low-level, mostly drug possession offenses, would have to suffer the collateral consequences, including lack of housing, employment, and educational opportunities for the rest of their lives. So when we talk about the war on drugs, we need to move from rhetoric to action. And the drug lab scandal is a really great first step in getting there. It says that when pressed, the courts will rule in favor of people who were obviously wrongfully convicted. It says that the system in the executive branch, the system among DAs, is ill-equipped to be making not only the legal but also the moral choices about who to prosecute and about what charges to bring against them. We also have to consider the impact of mandatory minimums on this crisis and the drug war writ large. With the regime of mandatory minimums, prosecutors have the power to effectively coerce plea deals, guilty pleas, out of people who might otherwise want to go to trial. So that's a due process threat, and we can see the results of that due process threat in this Annie Dookhan crisis, where so many people were convicted on tainted evidence that, had we ever gone to trial, may have actually revealed itself to be tainted. So finally, as you watch this week and you see the breathtaking sight of all of these convictions being dismissed by the district attorneys in Massachusetts, remember that those convictions never should have been pursued in the first place. If we really want to take seriously the idea that drug abuse is a public health and not a criminal justice problem, we need to stop arresting and prosecuting people for drug crimes in Massachusetts.